you have ever thought about visiting another country? How many of you have thought about the time differences between here and that country and any of the effects that that might have on you? Well, today, this speech will inform you of time zones, the international dateline, and also daylight savings, which all help to standardize time throughout the world in order to communicate more effectively between the different parts of the world. Now, I want you all to focus on 3 topics that we'll address in this speech. Number 1, history and the function of the world's time zones. Number 2, international dateline and why we had it. And 3rd, the daylight savings time or summertime. Now, this information is important for all of us to realize and know because it's important to know what time zone you're in, especially if you plan to travel, what time zone you're going to. And since many of our students are not from here, it's important to, realize which time zones we're crossing. Now, personally, I have had the experience to travel across many different time zones in the United States and in the world. So briefly, the history of the time zone. Sir Sandford Fleming, a Scottish-born Canadian, presented this idea in the late 19th century, but it wasn't until 1929 until the idea of time zones was established throughout the world. So basically how time zones work is they are segments. There's 24 in the world and each for 1 hour. 1 hour, 24 segments equals 1 day. And they're divided by 15 degrees each because each hour the earth turns 15 degrees. So that's how they're set up. The main reasons that we have them is so that each country can affix noon as the time when the sun is highest in the sky for that country, and also so that understanding among times between the nations are easier. Now, the international dateline, what is it? Most of you, or some of you might think the international dateline is like a romantic telephone number you might call, to this. No. The international dateline is actually an imaginary line that runs through the Pacific Ocean from the North Pole to South Pole. And this separates 2 separate days that's on the calendar. So for the areas that are to the west of the international dateline, they're 1 calendar ahead of the areas of the world that's on the east of it. The dateline, like I said, runs from the North Pole to the South Pole. And it does curve around some islands and landmarks so that the countries are all on the same day. Now, daylight savings time is used in many places across the world, including the United States. And it just means adjusting the clock so that we make the most available use of the summer daylight during summer months. Spring forward and fall back is an easy way that we can remember this. You turn your clock ahead 1 day in the spring, 1 hour, and back 1 hour, 1 day in the fall. Now, some pros and cons of this. Obviously, we can have more daylight during the summer, so we can do different things. But if you're traveling to a country that changes daylight savings times on different days, and you're unaware of that, you may be unaware of what the actual time is when you arrive there. So in conclusion, the purpose of the speech was to inform everybody of time zones, the international dateline, and also daylight savings, how they work and how they improve effectiveness of communication throughout our world. We explored the time zones, international dateline, and also daylight savings time. And now that we have learned this information, what we do with it is up to us. We can either use it positively, inform somebody else, or not use it at all. But the important thing is that we learn something new today. Thank you.